there were close to 5,000 corrupt transactions at driving license testing centers in Gauteng between January of 2008 and March of 2016. This has cost the province 39 million rand in fraudulent activities by officials and outside intermediaries. Joining us now is Duvenage, CEO of OUTA, to help us make sense of some of this. Wayne, very good afternoon to you. Thank you so much for joining us after massive public outcry, people complaining that online slots were not available and that they had to pay bribes to get appointments, especially during the hard lockdown. An investigation has now uncovered serious corruption and fraudulent activities who profited from the system, pointing to a major crisis.
Yes, initially the intention to do this online booking system was to overcome the corruption that was taking place at the driver's license testing centres. But all it seemed to have done is move the corruption from the front office to the back office. They didn't really stop the ability of officials from hijacking the system and selling those booking slots. And we found that a number of, the investigators, the forensic reporter, we must commend the Premier for commissioning this investigation, which does highlight all the things that we've been talking about, the public have been complaining about for so long now. The corruption continues unabated, and we need to get on top of this. And it's not a difficult thing to do. These are just systemic issues and loopholes that can and should be closed without making life difficult for the citizens.
The department decided to look just beyond the online booking system and investigate all the Gauteng testing centres holistically to improve operations. But surely this is an investigation that should have taken place decades ago.
Oh, yeah. And that's another complaint that's been around for a long time. So vehicle testing centres. And you imagine how dangerous it is when you can take an unroadworthy vehicle, pay a bribe, and have that vehicle literally put onto the road, and it is not fit for road use. And that's why we, have so many accidents. If brakes aren't correct, if brake lights aren't working properly, and tires are not are smooth and not roadworthy, this is how people die. And again, as we saw in the report, many people are able to buy their licenses for a price of up to 6,500 rand, both your learner's and your driver's license. So you're putting people that cannot drive very often into cars that shouldn't be on the road. And we wonder why we have one of the highest death rates per capita in the world. 14 to 15,000 people die on our roads every year. And this is a disgrace, and it's not difficult to get on top of. And we just fail to understand why the Department of Transport cannot deal with these issues when it isn't rocket science.
Yeah, absolutely. And on top of that, what was also uncovered in that report was the fact that a number of officials were linked to or perhaps own driving schools, which then results in this guaranteed pass. But they're able to do that and not get caught in the system because they've either registered the driving school under someone else's name. Correct.
Friends and families register the driving schools. They get the slots handed to them. The slots are sold on, and the driver's license tests and everything are sold on. So it is just a corrupt system. We implore the Minister and the Department of Transport, specifically in Gauteng, where it seems this is the biggest area of the problems, to meet with civil society and entities that have ideas and solutions. Look at best practice internationally, and let's get on top of this. There should never be a basic reference number given out for somebody who's booking a vehicle license or a driver's license. You need the ID number. It's simple. And if the person who arrives doesn't have the same ID number that's plugged in there, kick them out the office. They have no right to be there for their test. I don't know why the systematic failures are so difficult to overcome by government.
And that points to an even deeper problem, because it's easier, I suppose, for authorities to blame the collapse of their administration and systems on the public. That's what we've seen in the recent years.
Yeah, well, you can't blame the public. If the public want to break the law, then the system must be that strong that you catch those people. And then the public knows, well, if we try and transgress the rules and the regulations in this way and we get caught, there are heavy penalties. But if your systems that you set up are navigable and you can circumvent them and get around them easily, well, then your law is useless. And that's what happens so often in this government, that pass these laws and put in regulations that are unmanageable, that you cannot enforce, and then they become meaningless. And government suffers a crisis of legitimacy when it has laws in place that it cannot manage or enforce. And really they've got to get on top of it. And you start by rooting out the corruption within the system. And it's not difficult to catch the people who are involved in the corruption. Yeah. You can set it up very quickly and catch them, and not only have them fired, which is what government might do from time to time, but have them arrested and jailed. That's the problem we have so often. There's no accountability. So, it'll just carry on in the same way until government takes this matter seriously.
Yeah, very well. Thank you so much for weighing in on this discussion. Wayne Duvenage of OUTA there, giving us a sense of his view with the close to 5,000 corrupt transactions at driving testing centers in Gauteng detected between 2008 and 2016.